Now, I don't usually tell people to run out and buy a new video game console. In fact, I typically tell people to wait a little bit, but this year is a little bit different. On September 1st, the Nintendo Switch 2 is actually going to have a price increase from $449 to about $500. It's going to be literally the exact same console, no upgrade. It's not a Pro version, it's not OLED. And that's actually only one reason why I think right now is one of the best times that you can buy a Switch 2. So historically, throughout our lives, we've kind of been trained to think, if I just wait for a little bit for this console to not be brand new anymore, I'm gonna save some money. Initially, when consoles like the GameCube released, they had a much higher retail price than just a couple years later after the release. And I believe back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, the Nintendo GameCube released at about $200. And then I think by 2003, they had dropped the price to $99. And that's been true not only with the GameCube, but with other consoles like the PS2, the Sega Dreamcast, the Xbox, the Nintendo Wii, and a bunch of other stuff that's out there. For the first time in my life, I'm seeing a situation where waiting to buy a console is actually costing people money. So previously, when a console would come out, the sales would begin to rise and more units would be created. And as the demand went up and more consoles were sold, the manufacturing for these consoles got a little bit more affordable. And in economics, this is something called economies of scale. So as the overall output of a specific product or service goes up, the cost to produce one individual item actually comes down. And as that would happen, different companies would say, okay, we can now drop the price a little bit, maybe bring in some more sales and kind of corner the market a little bit and outperform our competitors. But this is no longer the case. In today's market, we've got AI companies and all these other online services that have a massive demand for memory and storage. The type of memory and storage that's used in the Switch 2 and all modern consoles and most consumer electronics is in very high demand for Amazon data centers, AI data centers, and all these other industries that utilize memory and storage as a big part of their business model are making the prices of these components skyrocket. And I know I've mentioned this before at some point on this channel, but about a year ago, I bought a Western Digital SN770 2TB solid state hard drive. Literally this hard drive right here. I bought this to use in my Acasis hard drive shell, and I think I paid about $129 back in 2025. This would have been in May of 2025. The last time I checked the price of this exact hard drive, I couldn't find it for cheaper than $380. So there's been about a tripling of the cost of this type of storage. And I don't even know what memory costs look like now. I haven't tried to buy any, but all I know is that these different raw components are going up in price and they don't seem to be coming down at least anytime soon, although we can cross our fingers. So as a result, all of the consumer electronics that we buy, they are unfortunately going to go up in price. We've never seen anything like this before. And this isn't just Nintendo. Xbox and PlayStation, they both announced price increases. You've got things like the Steam Deck that are also really expensive due to these different hardware costs going up. So again, if you're thinking about buying the Switch 2, this is just simple math. Right now, brand new, it's $449. And in just a few weeks, the cost is going to go up by about $50. And again, it's going to be the exact same console, same processor, same amount of storage, same everything. It's costing more to produce these now than when they initially launched. And in my opinion, I would say that right now, the Switch 2 has kind of reached that sweet spot. I bought mine as soon as I possibly could. The moment that I found one in stock, I bought it. Now at the time, there was not a whole lot of aftermarket support. We didn't have a good game library yet. And there was still a little bit of uncertainty of, well, how good is this console? Are there any bugs? Are there any issues that haven't surfaced yet? But after a little over a year, I think the console has proven itself. We have a good game library and these things run pretty darn good. So if you buy a Switch 2 now, it's not really a shot in the dark and you're not getting something that you're not really familiar with. You're not getting something that may turn out to be an absolute dud. There's tons of people out there who've used these and we now know that it is good, it is capable, and it's a ton of fun. And since we've had a little bit over a year of different companies doing R&D and trying to bring accessories and different peripherals to the market, we now have tons of good stuff. We've got like the Nixie Hyperion 3 that's out, which is a really cool handheld grip replacement. You've got bunches of products from 8BitDo that are now updated that work with the Switch 2. One of my favorite being the 8BitDo Pro 3 controller. This is one of my all-time favorites and it works now with the Switch 2 with no problems. There's also a good collection of cases, screen protectors, and other things like that that may not have been available for us on launch day. And one accessory that I've actually been waiting on since day one is the cracked Nitro Deck 2. It was initially expected to ship in July, but now they're saying that the shipping date is going to be in late August. I'm absolutely going to get one of those. The Nitro Deck is actually a really cool accessory. You slide your Switch into it to give you like probably the best handheld experience possible with the console. And like I mentioned before, you're not really uncertain about whether or not there's going to be good games for the Switch 2 now. We've already got games for the Switch 2 like Mario Kart World, which that came out at release date, but nevertheless, it's a great game and it's a lot of fun. We've got all the Zelda upgrades. So we've got Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition. And if you already own those games for your Switch 1, you can purchase the upgrade pack for I think about $10 and get way better frame rate and just a better overall playing experience. You've got games like Donkey Kong Bonanza, Cyberpunk, Resident Evil Requiem also now have access to Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village, and then a bunch of other Resident Evil games that are also playable on the Switch 2. So today you're not really buying potential anymore. You're actually buying something that's proven that it already has a good library of games. Now, in my opinion, Nintendo's next wave of first-party games is already starting to take shape. I haven't heard anything about a 3D Mario being released for the Switch 2 yet, but we do have Zelda Ocarina of Time that has been announced officially by Nintendo, and I cannot wait to play this game. Whether it's a remake, a remaster, or whatever it is, I will be buying it on day one the moment I can get my hands on it. I just think Nintendo's always knocked it out of the park with their first-party titles, especially the Zelda stuff. I'm just super excited to get my hands on that game particularly. I don't know if it's gonna sort of take the same shape as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in terms of being like an open world game with a similar design, but whatever it is, I'm going to be playing the heck out of it. Now, if you're already planning on eventually upgrading to the Switch 2, here's another thing that I was just thinking about. The price of the Switch 2 is going to go up, and the current price that you can get for your Switch 1 if you own one is only going to go down. And I'd say right now, the Switch 1 is still something that some people want to buy. They're still buying them for their kids. If they can't quite afford to hand their 8-year-old a brand new Switch 2, a lot of people are still using and playing Nintendo Switch 1s. So right now you're probably gonna be able to still get a decent amount either on the private market or as a trade-in at your local game store. Now again, I typically don't tell people to go rush out and buy something. I tell people usually, hey, wait it out and see what happens. But this is one of those rare moments where waiting to buy this console doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in my opinion if it's something that you're already interested in. You're gonna get the lower price that it is at currently. You're gonna get a mature game library that's got a ton of great titles. You're not losing the ability to play your Switch 1 games that you may already have. There's a huge list of good accessories, and it's a polished console at this point that's been tried and proven to be decent. Now, there are some people that I don't think should buy the Switch 2. I probably wouldn't recommend upgrading if you really don't play your Switch 1 very much, or if you just don't even own a Switch and have very little interest in any of the mainline titles for the Nintendo platform. And I would say the same for anybody who's still working through your backlog of Switch 1 titles and you've still got tons of playtime left before you're looking for something new. If you play maybe 1 or 2 older games that still work great on your original Switch, maybe stick with that and see what happens. You don't necessarily have to go upgrade to the latest greatest thing. And then something I think is really important, if even with the current price being $50 cheaper than what it's going to be later in the year still stretches your budget a little too far, I always tell people, you know, you got to make the best financial decision for yourself right now. If you're going to have to finance a Switch 2, probably don't buy a Switch 2 if it's going to put you in a bad financial position. As a matter of fact, if it stretches your budget, you know, maybe use the time that you know you would be spending playing games to figure out something that you want to do that maybe earns you a little bit of money. If I had been playing video games the way that I am now while I was in college or getting my career started, I would not be successful. I would not have gotten the grades that I got in university, and honestly I don't really know what my life would look like right now. So if this is something that you've already been looking at and considering buying within the next few weeks, I would probably go ahead and grab one if it fits into your budget before the price increase comes. I would love to hear some ideas for different topics that you think would be helpful for you or for newcomers to the Switch platform. So if you got any thoughts or questions or anything like that, leave them in the comments. And then I will go ahead and put a list of some of my favorite accessories that I've used for the Switch 2 down in the description. If you use those links in the description, I get a small amount of commission for it. That's a good way to help me continue buying Nintendo products to test out and share with you guys.